Any advice for anybody who wants to do acting or writing and producing? Do you have any advice?
Oh my, do it. Like, if you want to be a writer, start writing stuff. Write it down. I feel like so many people wait for permission or wait for the perfect time, and there's never a perfect time, and you shouldn't wait for something to be perfect.
What's up, everybody? This is indeed the E-Man, chilling like a villain, singing like Bob Dylan, keep it on the low with some double stuff Warriors. And I have a very, very special guest in the building. She's an actor, she's a producer, she's a writer, she's a jack of all trades. She's been on the grind since 2009. You might have heard her voice on a few animes like Battle Girls, Time Paradox, Horizon, Middle of Nowhere. But if you're like me, you discovered and became a fan of hers on the John Campea show. Now she has entered the world of podcasting. She has a new podcast with her friend called Two Filthy Casuals featuring Amy Newman as well. I want to give a big round of applause for the incredible Kris Carr. What's happening, Kris? How you doing today?
I'm great. That intro's so good. Damn.
Thank you. Thank you. It came from the heart. It came from the heart. Now, I have to tell you something. All right. So 2 years ago, and this is amazing. This is how God works. So 2 years ago, I was watching the John Campea show, and I put in a super chat, and now I sent it to Robert because like in the past he had a Captain Power shirt on, and I was such a fan of Captain Power, and I was like, man, I would love to have you on my podcast and on air. He's like, yeah, I'll come on your podcast, and he never did because I know he's busy or whatever. But it's so cool because I actually got to talk to the actor who played Captain Power, and he's been on my show, and I'm still hoping that Robert would come on my show, but it's such a blessing to have you on my show because you two guys are the reason why I watch the John Campea show. I just want to let you know I love you guys. I think you guys are awesome.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy we're back together too, because for the longest time, Rob and I were ships passing in the night, and we didn't have the same schedule anymore. And wow. I love that guy so freaking much. Like, any project he ever does, I will do it. Also, if you just pop into his lives when he's on his like Let's Get Physical show or anything like that, he'll just put you on air. He's crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Like is it an Instagram show that he does, or is it YouTube?
It's on YouTube. Okay. A lot of times, so if you want to join? He's a maverick.
Okay. I'll have to do that. But yeah, it's such a blessing and it's such a joy to have you on my show. So you're actually the second person that I interviewed that's from Texas. And so
right.
I interviewed Jennifer McGill, who's a Mouseketeer from the 80s and 90s Mickey Mouse show. She's from Texas. So I asked her, one of the first questions I asked her, and I'm going to ask you the same thing. If I go to Texas, which I've never been there, which I really want to go, if I get off the airplane and if I say, the stars at night are big and bright, will people be like, deep in the heart? Like, it's like Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure. I mean, will people really do that?
Oh, absolutely. It's a Pavlovian thing. My husband makes fun of me all the time for it. I'll hear it on TV and I'll do it. Someone will just say it from another room and I'll run in and clap. I feel like the Texas Popo will come get you if you don't clap. You have
to. Okay. Another question I have. I had a friend of mine. Well, I actually got relatives in Texas too, because I have some cousins in San Antonio. But nice. Everybody I know talks about this amazing grocery store called Heb or HEB. Is it the best grocery store in the world or what?
HEB, the heebie-jeebie. It's amazing. It's so good. So they have like a big one in Houston too, that's Central Market, that has all these great food samples and everything. But yeah, HEB is choice. They do a Hatch Pepper Chili Festival every year too. So then everything is just Hatch Chili Pepper flavored. It's incredible.
Okay.
Also, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Do you want me to pop headphones on? Am I going to script your audio?
If you like if that makes you feel comfortable, you can put on headphones. But I can hear you perfectly fine.
Okay, perfect. I just want to double check real quick.
Okay. Another question. Los Angeles now, right?
Yes.
Okay. Are you first? I want to ask: are you safe? Are you good? I know that you guys had the wildfires. I have family there too and friends. So are you good?
Oh, yeah. Thank you for asking. We are luckily, so we live in the valley. And so our friends in, Pasadena, Altadena, those places are the ones who got really affected. The folks in Altadena still need so much help. So if any of your viewers have any, ability to contribute or donate things or anything, I mean, it's this incredible historic neighborhood that still needs so much help because it is almost completely gone. But we really lucked out and we only had mostly wind damage from the Santa Anas and then ash.
Mm,
But otherwise, we were totally fine. We just couldn't drive out of here. We had all the fires around us. So it was,
wow.
well, I'm not going to go to work because I have to drive through the Pasadena fire. So I'm not going to do that today. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, we really were lucky. And it was really beautiful to see how this city came together. LA gets a really bad rap for being
Mm,
a town of selfish people. And that has never been my experience. I think it's just some of the kindest, most creative, hardworking people. And the fires really, I think, were a wonderful representation of how we all really pull together.
for sure. Like I said, I got friends there, and especially since starting my podcast, I've interviewed a lot of people from there, and I'm glad everybody's, for the most part, everybody's safe and everybody's okay.
All your
Uh,
people are okay?
yes, yes, they
Good.
are. Yes. Another Texas question. Whataburger. So is Whataburger? I have never had In and Out. So is but I've had Shake Shack. So compare Whataburger to Shake Shack. Which one's better?
Whataburger. I I think that am I allowed to swear?
Yes.
What I think Shake Shack is dog shit. All right. I've never had good Shake Shack. And maybe that's on me. Maybe I'm getting the wrong thing there. Maybe I'm ordering it at bad times or something. But what a burger. I mean, their whole tagline is what a burger, just like you like it. It is so good. They have this honey chicken butter biscuit at breakfast.
Yes.
Oh, it's so delicious. I dream of that biscuit. It is
Mm,
amazing.
My
Which that's like the closest in Texas we have to In and Out. I know a couple places like Dallas and a few folks now have In and Out, but Whataburger's on a whole other level.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine who actually moved from South Carolina to Texas, but she was originally from Texas, and all she talked about was that honey butter biscuit that you're talking about. She's like, Emmanuel is amazing. I'm like, oh man, you're making me hungry. I ask all actors this: what movie or TV show totally knocked your socks off? Let me rewind. You see, I got the Scott Pilgrim poster behind me,
Hell
right?
yeah.
How many times do people get you mixed up with Mary Elizabeth Winstead? Because when I see your picture, it's like I see Mary Elizabeth and I also see Rashida Jones.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So
Okay.
yeah, but how often do you get that?
I get Mary Elizabeth Winstead a lot. And I've often been told on commercial sets too, where it's, oh yeah, we hired you because you're kind of like, Kroger brand Mary Elizabeth Winstead. You're affordable Mary Elizabeth Winstead, which is always a really great backhanded compliment.
Yeah, very
Thank
backhanded,
you
but
so much. But it's very flattering. Rashida Jones, I've never gotten before though. Thank you. That's so nice. She's stunning.
yeah, I because there's this one headshot that I saw, and like you guys have like the same colored eyes, and the way you posed, I was like, well, I got some Rashida Jones vibes. I'm
Yeah,
digging that.
hell yeah.
Oh,
So
but
is Scott
back
your favorite then?
Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that movie. I own it, and I feel like in order for me to own a film, I have to be obsessed with it. So
Oh,
I love
sure.
this film. Yeah, for so sure. Actors, this what movie or TV show truly knocked your socks off to where you were like, okay, I have to be an actor.
Oh, damn. That's a great question. Well, as you know, I am freakishly obsessed with the Muppets. I am so obsessed with the Muppets. I love them more than anything. I have a giant Muppet Christmas Carol poster in my house that is
Nice.
constantly. I was a huge Muppet and Sesame Street person growing up. And for the longest time as a kid, I just wanted to be a reporter because that's what Kermit the Frog did. So I'd run around with a hairbrush and do, Christine Carr, what's your news? And I'd put it in people's face. And I'd make my parents let me wear like hats and little trench coats and be like, I'm going to go report. Um,
So cool.
I finally saw Clue probably way too early. My parents let me start watching Clue and Mel Brooks movies and things like that
Mm-hmm.
way before I should have been watching them. But watching Clue was when it was, oh, these are human Muppets. This is incredible. I want to be that. That's what I want to do. And it was Madeline Kahn doing her whole flames on the side of my face moment. Just, oh, this is what I have to do for the rest of my life is be fun and ridiculous and get to like fall downstairs and be an absolute Muppet myself.
That's great. You know, one of my favorite Muppet. Well, it's not. Well, I guess you can consider a Muppet film. Follow That Bird. Did you ever see that?
Oh yes.
Yes, I love the music. Oh, it's so great, so great. Wait, make sure I am recording, right? Yes, I am. I'm sorry. I had to make sure.
Amy and I do this every podcast. We're like halfway through. She's like, "Did we hit record?" I'm like,
I just had to make sure. Oh, okay. So, all right. Voiceover work. Now, okay. So I got this is crazy. So, you know, Jim Cummings has a podcast, right? And I stumbled across it. I didn't even know he had a podcast. And there's a specific episode that I listened to. It was Jim Cummings and Rob Paulsen, who I absolutely love. And Rob Paulsen is just so grateful for. I mean, after every story they tell, or after every story he tells, he's like, "Man, how lucky are we that to get to do what we do?" You ever listen to his book? I don't know if you listened to his book or not, Rob Paulsen. I think that had a lot to do with the fact that he survived, you know, from cancer, you know, and I just think he's an incredible person, and to listen to him do the voices, because it's kind of like a Goof Troop reunion, you know what I mean? And it just puts the biggest smile on my face. Who's like your voiceover hero, and also what cartoon kind of like, well, you said Muppets, but what cartoon flipped the script for you where you're like, wow, yeah, this is something I want to do?
oh, that's a great question. So Jim Cummings is a huge one for me. That is one of the few people I got so nervous about seeing in LA that I did not go up and say hi to him or anything. I just went and hid because I lost my mind.
Wow.
I don't know if you can see it. I've got a Darkwing Duck action figure right up. But
cool.
Then the thing that probably made me go, oh, voice acting is a job, because I worshipped Jim Cummings without really knowing who he was, because he was in all my favorite shows. But then Cowboy Bebop. So Stephen J. Bloom doing the voice of Spike Spiegel was kind of my gateway drug, if you will, of, oh, that's a job that you can do. And this is incredible and nuanced and really fun. And you can be something crazy like a space cowboy bounty hunter in the future.
Sure.
And then that kind of had me fall down this rabbit hole of really reviewing and learning about the voices I liked. You know, where it'd be, oh my gosh, yeah, well, on Darkwing Duck, I love, you know, the voice of Goslin, and I discovered Christine Cavanaugh, or I discover, you know, Tara Strong, or all these other incredible voice actresses. Yes. And I feel like that 90s Disney lineup is probably the thing that, mixed with Toonami, were the kind of things that made me go, oh, this is the kind of stuff I want to do.
Yes, for sure. I feel bad for kids nowadays who never get to experience breaking your neck to get off the bus to watch the latest episode of Batman animated series, to watch the Disney afternoon, I mean, to have to be there in front of the TV to watch it. It gives you a sense of accomplishment. And then if the episode is good, which usually they were, especially that first run of Batman animated series, it's just like, it's so rewarding. And then like the next day you're talking to your friends about it. Oh my God, did you see the episode of Robin's Reckoning where he dragged Zuko? Like, it's just like, they'll never get to experience that. It's crazy.
Or the moment where, this is going to age me tremendously, I had a VHS that was just used for taping, and that's what I would take Toonami on every single day, because I had theater after school. And so I would come home and I'd get to like take out my VCR and watch all the shows that I missed, then set it up for the next morning again. And you're totally right, because that was an event. It was this really big deal. Whereas a kid, you had must-see TV. And yes, this is also why it's so sad that so many streamers have just gutted their animation vaults, because there's so many incredible shows that kids are never going to get to see. And that's devastating.
Dude, what you're talking about was kind of like, I was going to go into a John Campea rant, but I still will, but it's so crazy when you talk about the vault. I did a roundtable. I had the Indiana Jones roundtable when the Indiana Jones movie came out, and I had Phil Moore, who was hosting Nick Arcade, on there, along with a few other friends of mine. And one of the things we talked about was like, you know, I was telling them like, I'm not really feeling the new Disney live action stuff, because it's kind of takes away from the fact that a lot of the magic of the 2D animation was, it felt so real, you forget that you're watching animation. You know, you're so invested in the story. And and the whole thing about things going into the Disney Vault, it kind of makes things exciting, and that doesn't really exist anymore. Um, and I totally, oh God, I totally agree with you. What is your favorite anime of all time? Now, I'm asking this question because, like, I remember. Do you remember this store, this retail store called Suncoast?
Yes. Hell yeah.
It was a movie lover's paradise. For people who don't know, it's like it had DVDs, Blu-rays, movie posters, movie T-shirts, memorabilia. But I remember when I worked there back in 2005, I saw these group of kids reading manga, right? And I said, wow, things are changing. They were openly reading it. And I thought that was just so cool. That's crazy for me because I remember I also worked at Blockbuster. I worked a lot of jobs. So I also worked at Blockbuster. And I swear, when I worked at Blockbuster, the anime section was this small. Now it was great. Now it's like it's everywhere. So why do you think it's so popular now more than ever? But also, what is your favorite anime of all time? And I'm talking like Bubblegum Crisis, Battle Angel. Those are some of my favorites.
Oh shit. Okay. Wow. This is tricky because okay, so I grew up on Sailor Moon. That's why all of them are back here with my manga and everything.
Yes.
And so
Who's your favorite Sailor Scout?
Oh, I'm always torn between Venus and Mars. I
Okay,
love
I'm a Jupiter guy. I love Jupiter. I think she's so hot.
that's my best friend Megan, that's her favorite. And then my buddy Brandon, who does music, he was on our podcast talking about it. That's his favorite too. He's like, reminds me of my fiance. I'm obsessed with her. She's incredible. Jupiter's a lot of people. I totally get it. But I had to, because pre like Suncoast having a good section or anything like that too, my mom would have to drive me from our town to Conroe, which was about 45 minutes, to take me to Bedrock Comics. And that's where I could get the Japanese subtitled VHSs of the Sailor Stars saga. And kudos to my mom too, because we lived in a conservative Texas town. She was a CCE teacher, a Catholic after school teacher, and she's taking me get these weird Japanese tapes where we have these incredible characters who are transgender. And my mom was just like, yeah, let's put this on. This seems interesting. Good for you, kiddo. And I was that I had like no judgment in my house about any media I was consuming. It was always met with curiosity. So that was probably my big one, and I still love it so much. Cowboy Bebop is one I can always return to. And then I know people are like, it's not anime because it was made by Westerners. I still kind of lump in Avatar: The Last Airbender. I really, really love that show. And I think the reason why so many people gravitate to it now, and it is so nice that people aren't like closeted geek fans anymore. So growing up, I didn't let my friends know that I collected X-Men trading cards. I didn't let my friends know that I was being driven 45 minutes to go get a new subtitle tape, because that was weird. It was weird to everyone else, and you got made fun of for it, which sucked. And nowadays we just celebrate fandom in such a beautiful way for the most part. Obviously there's people out there who stink and they make it bad for everyone when they gatekeep or judge or whatever. But I think one is just we are so open to different types of storytelling now. And the beautiful thing with anime is it's never one thing, right? I was talking to a friend about this the other day of, hey, I don't want to like bum you out, but I just really can't get into anime. I was, oh, okay, well, what ones have you watched? And they gave me a couple lists of, I've checked out like Dragon Ball Z. I've checked out, Inuyasha. But okay, well, what kind of stories do you like? I like, I like more slice of life romance stuff. Like, dude, there's a whole thing of anime that is just, if you are really into D&D, there's so much D&D inspired anime that you can watch. If you want something that's sports oriented, there are so many animes about basketball, volleyball, ice skating, all kinds of stuff. So whatever you like, you can check it out. The one that I always tell people to watch if they think they do not like anime is a series called Erased. Have you ever watched this?
I have not.
It is killer. You are so lucky. I think it's so rad. It is a time travel murder mystery.
Okay. I'm writing that down right now.
It's so cool. It's so fun. And that's one that it's just, again, you kind of forget about it being animated to an extent because you're just trying to solve this murder. and trying to figure out everything. And then you go, oh, I'm watching a cartoon. And I think we're all in a place for the most part where we're also understanding that animation is a medium, not a genre. And you can do such incredible things with it. And I think Japanese artists have always been on the forefront of really doing cutting edge things with their storytelling and not dumbing things down for their audience, or just playing within their own genre of, we can be wacky and silly and over the top, but then hit you with a big heartstrings moment or an epic battle or bananas crazy violence, but it can all exist in this same one show just because they're trying stuff out. And I've always appreciated that innovation. And I think with streaming, all of us are getting access to that more. And it's elevating how we consume anything. We demand more from our media. We don't need it dumbed down. We don't need it sanitized or watered down. We just need great stories and great characters. And anime gives us that in spades.
For sure. Saying it's like, oh man, okay. So when you mentioned Avatar, all right, so actor Dante Bosco does the voice of Prince Zuko. Yeah. I've met him. As a matter of fact,
Me too.
You know it? Oh yeah, you met him?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really cool. I met him at an anime expo, but I know him because he has a show called the Monday Cinema Club, which is on Instagram at 6 o'clock. And I popped up there a few times. So when he saw me, he recognized me. And so I thought that was really great. And I'm old school. So even though I haven't seen every episode of Avatar, I'm more of a fan of his in his earlier work, like Hook. As a matter of fact, I had the opportunity to talk about Hook because it was the movie of the week, and me and him talked about it back and forth. So that was just really great. He's just a really cool guy, man.
He's so nice. I met him because I was doing stand up at the Comedy Store.
Nice.
And Great Elise, the voice of Azula, was part of my lineup. She's so funny. She is so talented at everything she does. And so I'm outside, the store talking to my friends, and Dante Bosco walks up, and my friend goes, "Dante Bosco," and she yells at him. And it's, yeah, like, hey man, we're really big fans. That's really cool that we're here. We hope you have a good night. He's like, yeah, I'm here to see my sister. You got to support your family. And so he and I hang out all the time, apparently, still, which is so lovely.
That is so cool. That is so great. All right, so all right, I just want to go about this rant because this crazy how it all came together. All right, so there was these two different YouTubers that had the same argument, and they were blaming consumers on the performance of the lackluster performance in the box office. Mickey 17 and Opius, and how it kind of underperformed. And they were like, this is the reason why movie theater is going to become extinct because you don't support original content. And I'm like, that's kind of, I mean, yeah, we as consumers have the power because we give them the money. But I think a lot of what's to blame comes from this really weird new entertainment ecosystem of entertainment. You know what I mean? And the center of it is streaming. And at first, I'm like, maybe I'm being weird about it, but I stumbled across an article where Quentin Tarantino said pretty much the same thing. Streaming is killing the cinema. Back in the day, a movie like Ninja Turtles, like one of my favorite movies, Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, would stay in a movie theater for 6 months.
Oh yeah.
Then there'd be this 2-month, lull, and then it'll go to VHS. And then it's exciting, like, okay, I gotta get my copy of it. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't really exist anymore. Love Hurts stayed in the movie theater for what, a month, and then it went to digital. It's nuts. Now, granted, it wasn't the best movie, but still, I love Ke Kwan, so I'm gonna always support him. It's just really weird how I think the tipping point came during COVID when the theater shut down and certain studios kind of panicked and said, "Okay, we need to put stuff straight to streaming." It's weird. I have a love hate relationship with streaming because although I hate what it's doing to cinemas and theaters, I love the fact that I could watch Saved by the Bell at any time at the drop of a hat. So I just wanted to know what are your thoughts on streaming and the possibility of theaters becoming extinct.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. It is so much about streaming, and there's so much good and so much bad. I feel like we are in this really incredible TV renaissance where television feels like it's movie caliber so often. We have these really wonderful shows that are happening, But for movies, it's so hit or miss. And because of the ecosystem, to borrow from you, that they've built around the idea of streaming, of, well, this goes straight to streaming, or this is here after its 30-day window or something like that. It sets up the consumer to, one, anticipate something coming to their living room. So why bother going out and, getting a babysitter, or calling an Uber, or taking time away from being in your home and making dinner, or whatever else is happening in your life.
Yeah.
And it just goes, oh, I can catch that once it's home. And I'm guilty of this too, of, oh, I'll just watch it once it's streaming. I know it's going to come here in like 3 weeks. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I also think, and I've talked about this so much, and I know I'm a broken record, but post-COVID, in all things in life, I think people either became much better versions of themselves or horrible versions of themselves. And we have so many people who now go to movie theaters and are just horrible. We've always had people who act up in public places, but now everyone treats the movie theater too with zero reverence. I'm going to text on my phone. I'm going to loudly talk to my friends. I'm going to belittle you if you tell me to be quiet. And obviously the theaters can step in, but so many times in movie theaters, you've got, some sweet 16-year-old kid. They shouldn't have to come tell a grown-ass adult, hey, you need to be quiet. Like, it just puts them in a position too where they immediately are going to have to deal with somebody antagonistic. And I feel like that's a big part too. A whole bunch of my friends here in LA will not go see movies at night anymore because audiences a lot of times are just so rowdy and rude and ridiculous. The growing cost of going to movie theaters as well is really contributing to that. And obviously these buildings, these movie theaters need to stay afloat, and all prices are rising. But if I can watch a movie on a streaming service that I'm already paying money for, why am I going to pay $15 to go to see a movie? Unless you're doing something like A-List or, the Regal Unlimited where you're paying, 20 some odd dollars a month.
Right, which is what I have.
Same. I have to hit that quota of, okay, I have to make this work and make it earned, right? But I also, like you, we have the privilege of our job is talking about media. For your average moviegoer, we needed that longer amount of time for them to come in and out of theaters. They don't care about having the first reaction out on YouTube. They don't care about having, stuff spoiled as much as the rest of us because they're probably not as plugged in. But a lot of times for your average Joe, they do need 2 or 3 weeks to line up their schedule and get to movies. So it's just this kind of perfect cacophony that's happening of there's so many factors keeping people from going to the movies. And they've got to figure something out to make it event-like. That's why Barbie was such a huge event. And a lot of these companies just could step up the marketing game, if I'm being honest. Yes, we all want original content. Yes, we want to see more Mickey 17s because that movie is cool as hell and really innovative. But it was barely broadcast about. Unless, again, you know about movies. Most of the people I know who aren't super into cinema were like, oh, what is that? Huh? Who did it? Okay. The Batman's in it? Okay, I guess that's cool. They knew nothing about it. And we've seen from companies like Neon, like A24, Blumhouse, doing really interesting creative marketing for almost no money and generating so much buzz about their movies. And I feel like we're in this kind of lazy place almost, where it's, well, if you want to see a movie, you'll find out about it. Almost Field of Dreams-ing it. If we put it out there, they'll come to the theater. No, just like anything, you have to tell people what you're doing. You have to promote stuff. No one's gonna know if you don't tell them. So that's another big factor too. But I think you're right though. The streaming is really the point where we've stopped going to church. We don't go there anymore because we can hang out at home where our dogs and our food are.
I saw your dog in the background. That's really cool.
Oh yeah, he's gonna just pop up periodically too. The other one I have leave where I was like, you're just too talky. You gotta go.
When you say the event factor, one of the things I think about, one of my favorite, I don't want to say guilty pleasure movies, but I don't care. I love it. I love Batman Forever. I remember when Batman Forever came out and the soundtrack came out, which is another huge factor in the movies. And if you couldn't watch the movie, you listen to the soundtrack.
Yes.
The soundtrack, the McDonald's tie-in with the Hero Burger, the collectible glasses, all of that stuff made it feel like you're a part of something bigger than yourself. And I think that's really missing now. Blockbusters and your mom and pop video stores were around. There was like this sense of urgency that doesn't exist anymore too. Because like if you go to versus like something like Netflix or a streaming service, if you go to Blockbuster, you walk to Blockbuster, you walk around, you look at the cover art, you make a decision, and then guess what? You pay $2.99 each for each tape. And when you get home, you got 3 days to watch that joint. And if you don't, you know you're gonna have a late fee. It's like there's this sense of urgency, that doesn't exist anymore because you just watch whatever on Netflix at any time you want to. There's no expiration date, and I feel like that's really missing,
Oh, 1,000%. If you and your friends didn't like get your parents to take you to Blockbuster when you had a
Yeah.
sleepover, you were making fun of so much too. Like, you don't have any movies for us to see. What the hell is this? I every year around Christmas when I watch The Holiday, I get so sad watching that Jack Black and Kate Winslet Blockbuster scene of that used to be like the perfect date of just walking around Blockbuster and having like, okay, which movie do you pick out one, I'll pick out one, and then we'll watch them both and we'll compare them. Right? It was like such a good, fun part of your date was just figuring out what you wanted to do. Because I, again, aging myself, like there was still Blockbuster when I was in college. That's when the Netflix DVD sending started happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I always was like, oh no, I like to just kind of pick out what I want to watch in the moment. And so I'd still go to video stores. And luckily here in LA too, we still have a lot of physical media places that you can rent from, which is really rad.
Oh, cool.
It's just, it's not the same. And also the technology all failing. Like I can't play any of my DVDs on my computer anymore. It won't work.
Oh, wow.
And luckily we still have, old PlayStations and old other things that we can still use that on. But when those crap out, we're not going to be able to watch them anymore. And I do miss that sense of I gotta do this right now and I've got to watch it. And also I think the scarcity helped too at Blockbuster. You'd go pick out that movie, or like, borrowing from the John Mulaney joke of, do you guys have Addams Family Values yet? Like, if you didn't get that VHS in time, okay, well, I got to pivot and I've got to do something else, but I guess I'll come back tomorrow and I'll see if it's been returned. Like you were constantly going there because you needed to get movies and you could only get so many at a time or they'd be out of there. So that business model was so great.
I used to, like I said, I worked at Blockbuster, and one of the things I will always get asked, because I worked behind the counter, like telling my age, did something about Mary come in? So I had to go to the return bucket and just scavenge and try to find a copy. Yeah, I got a copy. Okay, cool. It's like I would have to do that all the time, but I love working there. Too bad my manager was racist. Anyway, so
shit,
man,
them.
Yeah, it's crazy. What can you tell us about your new podcast? This is really cool.
Man, I can tell you so many things about it. So Amy Newman and I do this podcast called Two Philly Casuals. And basically our whole thesis is that it can be really intimidating getting into a new fandom, especially with all the gatekeeping out there. So on our podcast, we bring on somebody who loves something tremendously, a super fan, and they talk about why they love that fandom, answer some questions, and that way you as the audience can dip your toe in sans judgment. And we always like to stress, because our guests get really nervous about this too, the point isn't that they're an expert on this thing. It's they love it. And I feel like we conflate the two a lot of, well, if you love Marvel Comics, you have to know everything about them. Sure, there's certain characters and things that I can do a crazy deep dive on and give you so many weird things about and tell you some issue numbers. I could know so much math instead, but that's what's locked up in this noodle. But knowing dates and times and publications doesn't mean you love something, right?
That's true.
It's those things that make you connect with it. And I think that's one of the fun things we get to do on this podcast is, one, half the time it's something I know a little about and Amy knows nothing about. So we get to learn together.
Yeah, cool.
We get to hear why people love something so much and hear them get emotional about these things that were their kind of security blankets. The thing that comes up the most lately too is how many people found something that they're now totally in love with during the pandemic. And I always think it's so beautiful that in times of despair, we gravitate towards art. and we just need art to comfort us so much and help us get through things. And so hearing people who, you know, fell in love with this band during this time, or, you know, our friend Jim, who was just on the show talking about WrestleMania, it's how he and his dad connected before his father passed away. So he's still so beautifully connected to wrestling because it makes him feel like he's with him. Genevieve, who came on to talk about Burning Man, would one minute be talking to us about ridiculous phallic art sculpture installations and then talk about like the kindness and generosity of community and how emotional she'd get being around these people who would literally give you, you know, the shirt off their back. And it's really cool to see how across all these fandoms, we all still have so much in common. And we think we, like, as a weird theater kid growing up in Texas, I did not like sports and I didn't like the attention it got because it took away funding from the thing I loved. And now as an adult, I can appreciate, like, no, that was my specific circumstance where I lived, where they valued sports over art. That's fine. But I should never make fun of somebody who loves football or puts themselves in body paint, because I'm going to go to Comic-Con and think somebody who's dressed up as one of the Na'vi is the coolest shit I've ever seen in my life. Like, there's a Venn diagram for all of us of latex pants and body paint in all of our fandoms. So why do we all judge each other? But the cherry on top is that Amy Newman is the funniest person I know. So doing it with her every single week is just a freaking treat. God, she's funny.
Gosh, that sounds so cool. I commend you on, because doing this podcasting is not easy, and
you feel like you're shouting to the void sometimes, right?
Yeah, it's like, you don't know who listens. There have been moments I felt like giving up, but to be able to talk to people like yourself, and and my whole podcast is about giving a person their flowers. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's called the Special Delivery Show. Plus, when I was growing up, I loved Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and Mr. McFeely would say "Speedy Delivery," so that's why I'm gonna call it Special Delivery. So that's why I call it that. But I just wanted to say, thank you for just being such a bright spot on that show, on the John Campea show, and just being so nice today. And I really appreciate you. And it's been awesome. Oh, I do have two random questions. Okay. I ask everybody, growing up, what was your favorite cereal? And a little bit of a serious question, because like this March was like the 5-year anniversary of, COVID or what have you. How did 2020 change you as a person?
Ooh. Okay. But Rice Krispies, my favorite cereal.
Nice.
Yeah. We were a very big toaster strudel household though. So that's what I ate cereal. Gosh, how did the pandemic change me? I mean, at the time, right, when we were all in it, it didn't feel like we were going to get good lessons out of it. Right? It just felt harrowing. I feel like the things that it changed, I became much less of a people pleaser. I set up a lot more boundaries after that, mostly because I happened to have a job at that time that I was really getting taken advantage of and working through the pandemic, which on one hand, I was so lucky to still have a job.
Yeah.
But it also was this reminder of like, no one would care. This is not my legacy. If I stopped doing this job, they just replace me. Right. Yeah. And so making those kind of work boundaries was a big thing for me. Really valuing family was a really big thing for me. Having a tight knit group of friends that I could absolutely rely on and just hang out with whenever, like my COVID bubble, the 6 of us are still so close. They were over here this week to celebrate Ostara. And so I feel like that mix of true family friendship, and just also setting up like how to prioritize your own health and boundaries and all of those things were the big takeaways for me. And honestly, this is really cheesy, but it just like really strengthened my relationship with my husband. We celebrated our anniversary in the pandemic. He was a worker at the time. And so he was working, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. And he just did so much for our family just to keep us afloat. And it was one of those things of, wow, you take these vows sometimes and it just sounds like words. And then you see it in action and it's so beautiful. And you never want a circumstance like that to come up where you do have to have that kind of test. But when it happens, it's really incredible when the people you love step up and show you that love.
Yeah. Yes. Because I'm not married, but my parents have passed away. It's just me and my siblings, right? And I was in a really so I was in a really dark place. And it was like 2 weeks ago. 'Cause I wasn't feeling like myself. And so like my sister who's like 5 years older than me, we have this kind of relationship where we don't talk all the time, but when we talk, we'll talk for 3 hours. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so she wasn't feeling her best because she had just got out the hospital. And so I sent her a clip, of a previous podcast that I did where I interviewed somebody from one of her favorite shows, which was Little House on the Prairie. So I sent her that, and said, "I love you" at the end. And so she responded she responded like 2 weeks later, and she sent me a clip of this Disney cartoon called Peach Dragon, because I used to have the read along books, and one of my favorite songs was "I Love You Too." And so she sent that clip, and I was like bawling because it's something I needed to hear at the time. And I've heard that song a million times, but the fact that I received it from her, it touched me in the heart, and I didn't expect that. You know what I mean? So yeah, you're right. It's like one thing to say it, but when you feel it and you receive it, it's a totally different thing. Um, so yeah. Speaking of crying, what's a scene from a movie that always makes you cry? For
That was a
me,
great segue.
thank you.
What a pro. Damn. What's the one for you that always makes you cry?
To the point where I can't even think about it and I start to well up. And Inside Out, when Bing Bong says, "Send her to the moon for me." And then to know that Richard Kind, when he did that take, he was actually sentimental, and he was, because you can hear it.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Every
just
time.
Big Bong. That movie screws me up.
Yeah.
Oof. I mean, a recent one is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Every time there's that, because I'm going to do it now. Every time there's the moment of Floor and Teefs go now, and it's that panicked voice coming out of Floor, and
Yeah.
you just know they're not getting out of there, devastates me. A more like, I guess not happy cry because it's an ultimately sad film, but ends beautifully, is An Affair to Remember. I always cry at that one too.
Who's in that movie?
It's Cary Grant.
Okay.
And he and this woman meet like on a cruise and they talk about it in Sleepless in Seattle. And
Okay.
how I found out about the movie first, because my mom showed me Sleepless in Seattle, and I was like, I want to watch the movie you're talking about. But they meet on a cruise and they make a plan of like, hey, if this is not just a fling, we'll meet each other at this time on top of the Empire State Building. And he goes and she never shows up.
Oh.
It's because she got hit by a car and she's now paralyzed. And she just like doesn't want him to see her like this. So she's just like, I shouldn't go. And it's I won't spoil it for anyone, but it's a beautiful, beautiful film with just like that kind of classic 1940s dialogue that just worked so well then. But if you tried to do it now, we'd all be like, okay.
Right.
But hearing Cary Grant say it, you're like, yeah, no, that seems real. I believe that.
Wow. I gotta check that out. Another movie that it doesn't make me cry, but it makes me incredibly depressed is Million Dollar Babies. To the point of I've only seen it twice, and I will only see it twice. It is draining.
Oh yeah, that was
Emotionally.
that for me. So much of the prestige movies are like that for me though. Like
Yeah.
I'm so glad I saw Room. I never want to watch it again.
Wow.
Brie Larson's incredible, but oh my gosh, that movie is tough, right?
Wow.
To Slave, tough. The Brutalist, oh my God. Like so many of these are, I'm very glad I watched this, but I don't know if my heart can handle it.
Yeah. And even this is a little older. There's this scene in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where the baby ant tries to save the kids, and
Yeah.
when I tell you, stumbled across that clip one day and I was in a fetal position. I don't know why. It really tore me up.
Was that one of the first movies you saw as a kid where you dealt with mortality?
I think I could say yeah. But man, it's something about that. It tore me to pieces. But it's just it's devastating.
Yeah.
Oof. But yeah, but I do have to ask this one final question, and I'm so sorry, but you're like a lot of people
Hey,
are
apologize. I'm fun.
I'm glad. Advice for anybody who wants to do anything like what you like acting or writing and producing. Do you have any advice?
Oh my, do it. Like if you want to be a writer, start writing stuff. Write it down. I think it's Mark Duplass who said this, where it's just like it's gonna be bad the first time. Just it will be. Just get over that.
Mm,
But if you want to write stuff and rewrite it and show it to your friends who you trust and value their opinions. If it's
yeah.
somebody who wouldn't take
Woo.
advice, don't go to them. If it's somebody who's going to be a negative Nancy and shoot you down and make you feel small, why would you go to them?
Mm,
Want to be an actor, start taking acting classes. If you can't afford acting classes, start watching movies and really analyzing them. Google scripts and start reading them and doing table reads with your friends. That was another thing that got me through the pandemic is we would read episodes of Batman the Animated Series on Zoom all together.
oh my gosh.
It was so much fun. If you want to be directing, again, start seeing if you can take classes or go on YouTube and learn how cameras work and figure out what you like, what cinematography styles are really cool to you, what kind of stories you would want to tell and why you'd want to be behind that camera. Figuring out all those whys and then putting into action what you can learn is really not as hard as people think it is, because we always think in that big picture of I want
Right.
to direct, a $6 million movie. Okay, so if that's what you want to do, let's just kind of figure out what we can do today. Let's just reverse engineer this. So if my ultimate goal is to, get an Oscar nomination for cinematography, how do I get there today? And maybe that is just I'm going to watch all of the nominees for best cinematographer, or
Mm,
going to start learning about different camera angles and like what the hell is a French tilt, and start noticing those things so that you can start learning and putting them in your own little toolbox. I feel like so many people wait for permission or wait for the perfect time, and there's never a perfect time. And you shouldn't wait for something to be perfect. I mean, you've been doing this for 5 years, right? And if you had
yep.
waited till it was like the most perfect version of this, you wouldn't be here today. That's like,
Yeah.
you don't let perfect be the enemy of good, is the biggest thing. And also just don't expect that you're going to try and succeed. You're going to try and fail, and you're going to try again and fail another way, and you're going to try and it's still going to be failure, and then there's going to be wins, but then maybe a fail. Like none of
Yeah.
it's linear, none of it works that way. And so you
Right.
have to keep going and pushing and really cling to that why and allow that to catapult you, because that's the thing I see all the time is people get really defeated and quit. And it's
Right.
totally fine if this stops to spark joy for you. Like if you are somebody who's like, oh man, I really am excited and passionate about this YouTube channel, but now it's just a drain for me, maybe it's not the avenue that you should do. Maybe you
Right.
should just push yourself to do something for the sake of doing it. But if it's something that lights you up, keep going and just know that it's going to be probably a little bit uphill, but it'll be worth it as long as you're having fun.
I, when you said the thing about writing, it made me think about what Sylvester Stallone said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said like when he was writing Rocky, he was like, it wasn't like perfect the first time around. He wrote crap, and then he balled it up, and he wrote again, and balled it up. It took a bunch of crap to get to the point where he got that final script, and that's what it
Yeah,
takes a lot of times. And
exactly.
you're absolutely right about, man, as far as being very selective about who you share your stuff with, because there are a lot of people that be hating, you know what I mean? And yeah,
Well,
so
particularly for actors. I just, and that's the thing I know the most about, right? Maybe other directors feel this way, maybe other writers feel this way. But I feel like with actors, there's this weird competitive thing that happens that has
mm,
no business in what you're doing because it has nothing to do with other people. When somebody else gets a part that I auditioned for, that has everything to do with them, nothing to do with me. Like that person's really great for that role. They're going to tell that story in a really beautiful way because it's their version, not mine. Them
right,
getting it take anything away from me. And same with like actor circles. I never understood why other actors would get competitive with each other of like, I can't believe you got to audition for that, or I should have auditioned for that, or oh, she just got this TV show and I should be the one on TV. Like, you're in your own lane. Acting is almost like swimming, right? You're just trying to beat your own time.
Yeah.
The fact that you're in a race with other people is really obsolete. It's just, how can I be my personal best? And if you get out of that competitive mindset and just know there's a seat at the table for me, I just might have to cobble my own chair, then everything's going to be so much better for you.
Yeah.
And then you can celebrate everyone doing great, because anytime an actor friend I know gets a thing, oh my God, what a huge win for all of us. What a great day.
I was when I interviewed, there's this I don't know if you know who he is his name is Patrick Laborto. He's an actor. He was in I interviewed him. He was in Three Ninjas. He was on Little House on the Prairie. And
Oh, okay.
Three Ninjas he played Fester. But also he did the voice of Flash Thompson in the 90s cartoon Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
He was telling me, like, he auditioned for the voice of Spider-Man, but he didn't get it, and Christopher Daniel Barnes got it. But he said he was happy that he got it because he was good at it. It wasn't a competition. It was just like, hey, he got it. He was better at it. He did a good job. I'm happy. And that's
Yeah.
it kind of what you just said reminded me of that. It's like, to congratulate the next person. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? We're all trying to, just get work. It's great.
Like, it goes back to what you said about Jim Cummings and Rob Paulson, right? How
Yeah.
lucky, how lucky are we that we get to talk about things we love? How lucky are we that we get to pursue art? That's rad. That's so cool. People spend their
Yes.
whole lives doing what they think they're supposed to do, as opposed to chasing some actual joy. So anytime you get to do that, and anytime somebody succeeds and exceeds at it, it should be celebrated.
Absolutely. And even when I talk to two, this is kind of confirmation for me because when I ask that question, I'm asking for myself, but it's like I talked to two different directors. Um, and they both said kind of the same thing, like where like things just take time. Both of them said so the magic number for me is 7. They said it took like about 7 years to get to where they are now. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I'm like, okay, I'm okay with that. And even if I decide to even if I get a little weary, it's okay to take a break every now and then. Um, and that's good for your mental health. So yeah,
Sure. Yeah.
yes.
There's a podcast called the Liz Moody podcast, and she does this thing of, to figure out if it's burnout, would a vacation help me? And if the answer
Mm,
is, like, if I took a break, would that help me? Yeah, okay, I'd feel so much better and come back rejuvenated. Great. If it's no, then that's time where we start reassessing some things. Of like, if you took a
right.
vacation to love this, absolutely not. Well, then maybe we need to find a new plan.
Right, right. Well, wait, what's the name of that podcast?
The Liz Moody podcast. She always
Okay.
has different, like, doctors and experts on to talk about how to kind of live your best life.
Okay. I'm gonna check that out too. But it has been such a pleasure to talk to you. And if we went over our time, I apologize, but it's been such a pleasure.
This has been great. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And how can people reach you? Of course, yeah, your social media
Oh,
platforms.
yeah. So you can find me at It's Kris Carr on Instagram. You can also find Two Filthy Casuals at Two Filthy Casuals Pod on Instagram, on Patreon, on Spotify, on YouTube. We are all over this place. Please watch our YouTubes. Amy is working so hard. Wait, I just made myself sound like 1,000 years old. Can you please watch our YouTubes? We work on them. But you can find us there. And then if you do have an interest in voice acting, you can always go to speakfriendstudio.com. Myself and my husband, Logan Peets, run this studio. So we're a real dog mom and pop. And we teach how to get into voiceover, introductory classes, dialect classes. We make demos. It's a whole bunch of fun stuff. So lots of ways to find me.
Fantastic. So again, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you being on my show. It's been a pleasure. Tell everybody on the John Campia show I said hello,
Oh,
and
you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate everything. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.